Well, hello everyone, and welcome to A Breath of Fresh Footy. I'm Matthew, and of course, we have my wonderful friend here, Pete, from At the Net. Please subscribe to his page. He gives you all of the information, and what I love is that he's really honest with his feedback, especially with his club that he goes for, Manchester United. But before we start this episode, I would like to make an announcement about this particular series with Pete. We've decided to call this series of podcasts The Rivals. And why we thought this was a really appropriate name is that Manchester United and Arsenal, even though they haven't had the greatest rivalry over the last 5 years, everybody remembers the 1990s, the 2000s, where Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson, plus both teams, were just at each other's throats. And we would love to see this come back. And we think that it can, but there needs to be lots of improvements. So we might as well be the rivals. And I love it. And I think we're going to get some really honest feedback on round 2. And I'd love to welcome Pete. How did you find the weekend of soccer?
I tell you what, the weekend of soccer, to start off, we saw Everton, West Brom, 7 goals. What a great way to start. Now, look, 7 goals being scored. 5-2, going Everton's way. Look, defensively, there's a lot both teams can do. Obviously, there's a lot of goals, but it's nice to see that there's lots of goals. And you think, well, what a great game. Awesome. And then you sit up and go, well, I love my EPL. It's Melbourne, Australia, and here we are sitting up at stupid o'clock, Leeds Fulham. Why not? We're there. 4-3. Holy cow, this is awesome. And then, my friends, I can tell you this and mark these words. Here I am sitting there. Up come Manchester United and Crystal Palace. Wilfred Zaha. Hey, he did so well, didn't he? He did really well. Manchester United are a bunch of lazy fuckers that have absolutely driven me nuts. They're slow. Oh, my God. They were so slow. They lost that game 3-1. I tell you what, it could have been more. It could have just gone crazy. But I tell you what, Luke Shaw, he's crap. Get rid of him. Lindelof, he's got no idea. In fact, they gave away more passes than they actually passed to each other. Yeah, you laugh. I tell you.
It's true. It's so...
I know. But what is worse? Mason Greenwood. Holy shit. You've got a header right in front of the sticks. And he couldn't even do that. This is just absolutely deplorable. This is shit. They are slow. If the season was to finish, they'll get relegated. Mark my words right now. Absolutely relegated. They are shit. And it comes from the top. Because you know what? Ed Woodward has come out and gone, he's happy with the transfer decisions. Wow. What an absolute tosser. What an absolute tosser. You spent £35 million on Donny van der Beek from Ajax, and you're happy. Wow. We go out, we get done by Crystal Palace. Now, guess what? Next weekend, we go to play Brighton. Hey, guess what? They beat Newcastle. Holy cow. It's not going to get easier. If Manchester United don't make any changes, don't do anything. Oh my God. Hey, look, I will say to everybody, and I said this to this beautiful man just a minute ago, if the Chelsea female team was to get up there and play Manchester United at the moment with Sam Kerr, the Matilda's captain there, they would probably beat them. That's how freaking slow they were on the weekend. It was abysmal. Yeah. I've never seen a performance of absolute shit compared to what I just saw.
And, I love that you're using colourful language because it's the only way that you can describe that sort of performance. When you're getting pantsed by Townsend and Crystal Palace, and then you have somebody like Zaha who just wants to absolutely give it back to Manchester United for his stint there, and he puts those sort of world-class strikes in. I mean, it's deplorable to think a club of that nature could destroy a big club like United. I find it completely and utterly embarrassing. you know, and I should be
Well-
one that should be so happy that Man United is getting smacked. But the way that happened, it was like watching a train wreck because you got beaten at Old Trafford. That is your hunting ground. That is where your soul is. And it was like Crystal Palace's home game, the way that they controlled the possession, the way that they completely destroyed your backline. I mean, those guys should hang their heads in shame. The team shouldn't be paid for that weekend's performance. They should lose their whole salary. And the coach should lose his as well because he was completely outmaneuvered with all of his tactics. It's highly, highly embarrassing. And I'm one to speak because I didn't think Arsenal played very well. But as I said to you off screen, and I trust you because you know exactly what I'm talking about, the only reason why Arsenal beat the Hammers was because of our front three. That's the difference between our two teams. Both teams were utterly pathetic over the weekend.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, my concern is we go to Brighton next week, and if Man U play like they did, Brighton will probably do us 2-0. You know, and I think the fans have had enough. The fans have had enough of this absolute crap. I mean, Ed Woodward to come out and go, he's happy with the signing, and because of the COVID-19 crisis, oh my God, get a fucking grip, dickhead. Because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is Chelsea, they go and spend over £200 million. You know, everybody's spending, you know, over 50, 60 million pound. You spend 30 and go, oh, I'm happy with that. Wow, guess what? If you're happy with relegation, I tell you what, oh, Jesus.
I know. We've felt this for 16 years. We know what it's like in the transfer market when you don't spend. I mean, the last 2 years with Arsenal, at least we've spent some money. And this year we might not have spent very much, but who have we signed? We re-signed Aubameyang. First time in 16 years we've signed a captain. We got Willian on a free transfer and Gabriel. I mean, it's not a great transfer period, but when I hear what you guys have done, I think it's extraordinary, you know, and that is like so poor.
Look, I must admit, as of this morning, it looks like they have actually sealed the deal to bring Alex Telles from Porto. Right now, that deal's worth 17 million. Right. Yep. So be it. I mean, look, I mean, at the end of the day, Thiago Alcantara, he went across to Liverpool. It's actually really, really interesting. I'm starting to find where United's at the moment, and because if you go over the last 7 years, there's been no real big players come through. None. Absolutely none. And the reason why, and a lot of them are snubbing United, and there's a reason why. United are not a trophy-winning side. They're not a trophy-winning unit at the moment. And the reason why is because, as I said, it comes from the owners. The Glazers at the top. They're taking out, $1 billion a year to fulfill their own personal needs. Ed Woodward is a gutless chairman who sits in his chair and does absolutely swear FA thinking, oh no, we've done enough transfers. There is no depth. I tell you now, you start to lose one or two. I mean, let's say, Fernandez, God bless him, but did you see that dive on the weekend? You know, it was just, what the hell was that? Yeah. It was like he got his ankle clipped so he could get a free kick. But I mean, oh, sorry. This is just, it's woeful. It is just bloody woeful in every aspect of it.
It's not the United way, is it? There's no strength in the football. And that's what's really disappointing. You know, what gave all of us pleasures during our rivalry was when we beat each other, even when we beat Liverpool and Chelsea, everybody would banter each other a lot because we knew that it was a huge victory. It meant a lot. Now, if Arsenal or Man United play each other, it's just another game, you know what I mean? You can banter, but it's just not the same because the quality's not there in either of the teams. The only difference in the last 3 years, even though you've completely whooped us in league position, is that we're finally able to keep some of our players because we know how to win trophies. You know what I mean? We know how to actually win trophies. And we've won in the last 6 years. Okay, let's count the Community Shield as a trophy, even though I don't want to. That's 8 trophies in 6 years. You know what I mean? And I really feel for you. I understand poor leadership from the top. We have it with Kroenke. But I give the guy credit in the sense that if he's not putting into the club, at least he's not taking out of the club. So he hasn't put anything or taken anything out. So everything that we do with our transfers is all club orientated. It's all the supporters throwing money into the club, buying jerseys, buying memberships, buying tickets. That goes to funding our club. So at least we know that the money that we spend goes to getting quality players and helps with the signing of the players. When you have a director who's going to take money out of there, how can you expect anything to work properly? I mean, you can run Manchester United like a bank. You can make huge profits out of there. But the thing is, you can only do that for such a time because Manchester United's got this history. But if you don't actually put in, get the right players, you lose that history and it becomes a banter club. And nobody wants to go there.
No, look, and that's right. And, you know, even I must admit, the lineup that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had, it wasn't a good lineup. It wasn't a good first 11 he put out in the field. You know, he got asked about Wan-Bissaka and he turned around and goes, oh, he's not match fit. I mean, shit, we had an extra week off to make up the time. So we're on the same level playing field as everybody else. And they run out, they nearly walked the whole pitch. They nearly walked the whole game.
Yeah.
Every other team out there at the moment are playing a freestyle game. That's why you're seeing so many goals. You know, you see Mane for Liverpool after what they did to Chelsea. You know, he scored 2 goals. You know, Leicester. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's not good.
You know, and I can't see United improving on that in a hurry. I just can't.
No.
And I think for a lot of Man U supporters out there, and forgive me for saying this because I love Man U. But I tell you what, if they continue like this, we will finish in the bottom of the table.
Yeah. There's
no doubt about that. It is absolutely no doubt about that. And that absolutely pains the crap out of me to say that. But I tell you what, we head over to Brighton next weekend. Yeah. I mean, even just watching Brighton. Brighton, and they won against Newcastle. I mean, if they play like that with Man U, they will still win.
I agree. But this is the thing. You're not even saying this because you're trying to have a go at Manchester United. It's your observations of the game. And I've seen the highlights of it. I didn't even bother watching the full game because all the highlights were that Crystal Palace absolutely pantsed you guys. It was a real pantsing, you know. You were very fortunate to score a goal. It should have been a bagel. But, you know, that's the one thing with Donny van der Beek. I love it. He was the only person on the field that showed positive energy, you know. And when I compare our game as well, you know, when we did our substitutions, when Pepe came on, he brought this energy into the play. And it meant that it was infectious into our midfield that had been like your game, just still, with no movement whatsoever. And as soon as you get somebody who just has that bit of positive energy, it makes the opposition think twice about attacking you. And that's when they hesitate, and that's how you score the goals. I mean, Donny van der Beek was fortunate to score his goal.
Yeah.
He smashed it because he was right on the money. Positive play.
That's right. Now, the thing is, Donny van der Beek in the last 24 hours has come out and he's absolutely quite disgusted because he said the rest of the team was slow. So don't forget, the players coming from Europe, pardon me, wherever they come from, they're playing a quick brand of football. They come into Man United and they're playing like a bunch of girls. They're playing like a bunch of snails that are trying to get off the leaf because there's some weed killer coming up there.
Oh, I just don't understand your backline. I mean, okay, let's do a comparison of our 2 games because we might as well. There's so many similarities in it. Okay, so Arsenal's backline, very, very mobile. They can do things. Manchester United's backline, slow as a rake. Then we go into the midfield. Even though your midfield had a poor game, your midfield at least can run a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal's is completely dead. So that nullifies each other. So they're both the same. It's the forward line where I feel we're far superior, because we have 3 strikers, and in 2 games, all of our 3 strikers have hit the scoreboard. Do you know what I mean? And I don't see that happening with United. And that's why, for the first time in a long time, I feel we're going to finish on top of you, because we have that quality at the front. Do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts on those observations between our 2 teams?
Look, I think at the moment, yeah, look, I do agree. Unless Manchester United actually spends some money. Because when you look at the 4, you know, from Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Fosu Mensah, you know, with McTominay as well, and I don't know, they're not doing it. They're just not doing it at the moment. And I don't see a lot for Manchester United this season. I really don't. I mean, this thing with Jadon Sancho has just gone on and on and on and on, and it's a bunch of crap. It's an absolute bunch of crap. Ed Woodward, look, there's so many players they've missed out on.
Yeah.
So many players, and I think you can agree on that with me with that one there, because it's almost like they don't want to do it. It's, you know, yeah, Woodward's, he's a puppet to the Glazers. We all know that. We all know that. And I tell you, it was my wife, Vicky, who actually asked a question. She said, why doesn't all the fans get up and really do something and take the club back? I tell you what, it'd be great if they could get a couple of billionaires behind it and actually buy the club and give it back to the fans. That's the only way you're going to bring it back, because the Glazers will ruin this club. A chairman like Ed Woodward is continuing to ruin the club. See, Sir Alex Ferguson stood up to Woodward when he first came in. When the Glazers first came in, he stood up to them because he'd been at the club, won so many trophies. Ever since he left, everything's fallen down. I mean, look, if Man U keep playing as they are, I can almost guarantee, let's say they lose the next 5 out of 6 games, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will get sacked. He'll be the next manager to go. Right? And then all of a sudden, everything's going to start just to unfold again. Who's going to come in? I mean, seriously, it's absolutely pathetic. You can, if you don't fix it from the top, you can put as many managers in there as you want. Yeah. And I tell you what, unless the players are willing to actually, oh yeah, it's called run.
Yes.
Run, you know, unless you're willing to run. Because I mean, like, you think about it. Even Daniel James, he didn't do a lot. I tell you, the front players from Man United, they killed me. You know, Rashford, Martial, Daniel James. You know, Bruno Fernandes didn't have the best of games. Mason Greenwood, as I said. Donny van Beek, he came on. He was the only one, you know, he scored their only goal.
Why didn't he start? Why didn't he start? He should have been in there straight away. He was the only person that gave any sort of positive feel towards the team. And you know why? Because he hasn't been in that process since Sir Alex Ferguson has left. He's come from a fresh place. He's bringing his positive energy. And that's what you guys really need, because if you don't have that, you're going to get pantsed by lots of teams if you play like that. I mean, the defence was a shambles. I feel so sorry for De Gea, you know, because he is a super player. De Gea is a super goalkeeper. And the reason why the last 18 months he's been off is because he can't trust anybody in his defence. He has to do everything. And of course, he's only human. He's going to make mistakes because he's getting way too much of the ball when it should be looked after in between that midfield and central defence. And it's just not happening because Lindelof is a useless pile of crap. Really, he is a useless pile of crap.
And now I must admit, the one big thing, and there's this weekend's games, and I know my podcast comes out tomorrow afternoon, or actually it will be Wednesday morning when it goes up, because the biggest controversy over the weekend has been the VAR. Mm-hmm. That's been it's been a real big one this weekend. Yeah. Now, it was actually interesting because the penalty that Crystal Palace got against Lindelof because it hit his arm, fair enough, and then they took the first penalty. David De Gea came off his line, and so they retook the penalty again because he saved it. And it's you start to put all this together. There's a lot of basic 101s here. Last season, towards the end of last season, and I remember, I can't remember who they were playing. Paul Pogba was he was in the wall, and he put his bloody arms up, and it could have been against Leicester, I think.
Yeah.
And he put his hands up, and the ball hit it, and it was a straight penalty. And it's just like, there's a lot of basic 101s. You know, it's actually interesting. They did and this was actually, it was only yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They were just interviewing these kids out talking about Manchester United. And they asked this young boy, they said, so who's your favourite team? And he goes, well, I follow Manchester United. Who's your favourite player? And he goes, oh, they're all rubbish.
That's right.
That's what he said. They're all rubbish. Well, I can tell you right now, unless they start to really come together and do something useful, I tell you, if they lose to Brighton, hell will break loose.
Yeah, I agree. But I felt sorry for De Gea because I felt that he should have been allowed, that should have been a save. Do you know what I mean? He was the minuscule amount of coming off the line. We've seen goalkeepers save penalties where they've run the whole field basically to save a penalty like that. So I thought that was quite harsh. And I'm going to get smacked by my Arsenal fans for saying that because they'll be like, oh, we want to see Manchester United get slammed. I don't mind seeing you guys lose, but I want a fair game. And obviously, in that sense, VAR, Lindelof's fair enough. The rules now are very clear. You cannot have your arms like that. So just don't do that. But the penalty, I felt sorry for De Gea because he deserved that to be a save. That's my honest opinion, and anybody can disagree with me. But
look, and that's fine. I mean, tomorrow morning, Manchester United play Luton, right? And now the team news. I've already seen some of the team news this morning that's come out, and Bruno Fernandes and Donny van de Beek will be in the starting 11.
Yeah,
right now, and I think they should be in the starting 11 all the time now. They just should be, because if they need to start to run quickly. You start to look at some of these teams that they really get, look, the teams that has impressed me so far, I must admit, look, other than Liverpool, but we haven't seen Manchester City play yet, and that'll be interesting. But when you actually see Leeds, look, Leeds have actually impressed me. Defensively, in the second half of their game, they really dropped a bit. They allowed Fulham to actually come back in. However, they've got a really nice, beautiful brand of football going on there. And you start to look at all this and you put it together. I mean, the 2 goals that Mane got against Chelsea, that one header that he put in was beautiful.
Amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. So you just look at it. I tell you, they want to do something very quickly because the fans have had enough. Now, don't forget, though, we've got until the 5th of October.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. So, but I mean, look at Everton, though, for instance. Let's be honest. Ancelotti's done a genius move with Rodriguez in that team.
Oh, yeah.
He's completely changed that lineup because he plays in the midfield, does this fake 10. But Ancelotti is the only manager that's been able to use Rodriguez properly. So in the other teams where you see him, he's been really poor, and a lot of people don't rate him. But when Ancelotti gets him, whatever team he plays Rodriguez in, he looks like an absolute superstar. It's really changed the way Everton plays. And I feel so justified that I put them as in my top 6 because they're playing quality football. And it's really good to watch. And I love the fact that when the chips are down, their midfield actually steps up and they've got a lot of pace. And, I'm scared for even Arsenal because we don't have pace in that midfield. But you're right. The transfer market finishes on the 5th of October.
Now here's a big one for you.
Mm-hmm.
So on Friday, it was announced that Gareth Bale is now officially at Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sergio Reguilon is as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and the amazing thing, so I know that Bale will probably start off his debut match for Tottenham, which will be in October against Manchester United, because I think he's injured at the moment.
He is. He's out.
Yeah. So with that in mind, God help Man United. So the way I see it now, right, and I know the last time we spoke, my friend, and I said, glory, 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 Man United. Today I'm going, God help Man United. God help Man United.
Yeah, absolutely. And, had you have got those three players, so had you got Bale and the other guy that's at Tottenham, and had you have got Gabriel, who you were supposed to get off us,
Yeah.
you
Of course.
were linked to him really heavily, but he chose Arsenal. If you got those three players, it'll be a completely different situation on this podcast.
But you know what? There's always going to be, and I have to say this, Matthew, there's always going to be the what ifs. And, the what ifs, what if we got this, what if we got that? But I tell you what, when you put it together, see, the transfer market is the transfer market. You hear the rumours, you hear everything, unless they actually come out and the player has signed on the dotted line and said, I'm spending the next 12 months, 5 years, whatever it is, at this particular club, you've got him. That is simple, So yeah, that's all I can say. I'm just absolutely gutted, and I'm not even, anger. There's a bit of anger there, massive disappointment, and I just in disbelief on the fronts of why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put that team up against Crystal Palace, thinking it would be an easy win, right? Not doing your homework, but then you go look at Ed Woodward, who's happy with everything, and it's just like, are you serious? I mean, there was a classic photo that actually the press put up, and there is, his jacket's off, he's got this bloody mask on with Manchester United on the side, and he's got his head down. Well, no wonder. When you don't spend money, I tell you what, mate, I just wish the Glazers would wake up and go, you know what, we've taken enough money out of Man U, let's sell it.
This is the problem, though. I think it's even deeper than that. I noticed with our two teams, why were they invincibles? Why were they treble-winning teams? Because this mattered, the badge. All of our super players cared about the club so much they played for the badge. They would die for the badge. They would rather have their legs broken and get beaten than put in a performance like what happened over the weekend. At least it gives their supporters something to cheer about. And what's really important with playing for the badge, you don't have to have the best owners in the world. But if you play for the badge and you continue to do reasonably well, you can send a message to the board saying, if you don't back us, the supporters are going to go right against you. But the supporters have nothing to go against because these players, they play.
That's right.
There's no badge. There's no heart. There's no soul. I hate saying this, but why did Bale go back to Spurs? Because he loves that club. He feels like there's a soul there. That's why he went back. Why did Aubameyang want to create a legacy? Sure, maybe money has a lot to do with it, but he loves the fans. It's a family to him. There's a little bit of soul that's there. There's nothing in Man United, and it's really scary.
Pardon me. Well, I mean, don't forget though, prior to the Glazers taking over, the club was actually, Man United was run by the fans. Peter Gill was the chairman. Now, that was fantastic. And they were the glory days of Man United. Of course they were. So Alex Ferguson came in from Scotland, from Aberdeen. He took over and he just went boom. Run by the fans. Peter Gill, the chairman, thank you very much. Then the Glazers take over. Ed Woodward comes in. Thank you very much. End of conversation. United have kept on trying to do the same thing every year in, year out. I tell you what, while the teams like this, while United are going to play this game of we're going to give more money to the owners and not spend them on players, Man United won't win trophies. They will just sit where they are.
Yeah.
And eventually what happens is supporters will get sick of it.
Yeah.
Now, I still have got this burning question that my glorious wife asked me.
Go for it.
My glorious leader, my wife. She asked that question. Yeah.
She is. She's glorious leader.
She asked the question of how can the fans get up and really say to the Glazers, right, enough's enough? How can they get their club back?
I think
they need to do it.
I think I've got a solution as to what you need to do that. And maybe you might think this is a bit far-fetched, but I have a solution. What was Manchester United in the 2000s all about? It was all about their players. So when you thought of Manchester United, you thought of Scholes, you thought of Giggs, you thought of Rio Ferdinand, you thought of Schmeichel, you thought of Berbatov, you thought of Van Nistelrooy. What do you think of Manchester United at the moment? The only thing they're recognisable about is their badge, is their brand. There's not even players. That's the most famous thing at the moment. That's the huge problem. So how do you get supporters back? Supporters need something to protest about. So if they can get players that they really love and go, look at these players that we've got. Why aren't you supporting them? Why aren't you adding to this quality? Then they have an argument to the board to say, you need to build on this squad so that we can win trophies. But at the moment, if supporters are saying everything's rubbish, and that all they can recognise as the brand, well, what are they going to protest about? And I think Vicky...
Oh, look, exactly. And I think that's going to be the testament moving forward. Look, who knows? I mean, who knows? It's a real, for me personally, it's a difficult one. I mean, we'll borrow Arsenal's cannon on your shirt there and we'll fire it at the board because they need something. And, because I mean, like straight away, you know, you go on social media and everyone goes, "Oh, get rid of Ollie," you know. And it's just like, I'm sorry to say, you could put Pep Guardiola in there, and he's going to do jack shit. You could have the best of the best in there. You could put Jurgen Klopp in there, and he's not going to do anything, you know. And these guys are just masters at what they do. And the reason why is because they don't have the backing of the board. They don't have the backing of the chairman. They don't have the backing of the owners. Manchester United, if they're going to be a global star in the football world, they need the backing of the board, the owners, and everybody that has to do high up within the team. That is it.
Yeah, I know. And it's really sad to see it. And it really just shows to you, if you have a company of any sort, it all stems from the top and it really comes down to the bottom. And unfortunately, the bottom is what we saw on the weekend. Absolute laziness, absolute walk in the park. They thought, oh, we're going to find this really easy. But, you know, when you've got Crystal Palace who are hungry and know that for the year they need to get the 40 points as soon as possible to avoid relegation, they're fit. They're fully fit. They don't play the cup games. They don't play Champions League. They have less to play for. You know, they have less games they need to play. They don't need the depth of the squad. Perfect example, when Chelsea won that premiership with Conte, they didn't have anything. They only had to play the league and some of the cups. That's why they killed it, because they had such a great squad. You know, people said they were lucky. It wasn't that they were lucky. It was just because they didn't have to play as many games. They had a good squad. They didn't get injured. And they killed it. They won the EPL like that. It was just a piece of cake. And that's what our teams find really hard, because we have to play so much footy that you need depth of squads to be able to do that. And so when you start running thin and you don't put money, as a big club should, into the investment, which is the players, because the club will always be there. But what's the best business card Manchester United has? It's players. But at the moment, their only business card they've got is their logo. And it's really sad to see. I hope
look at it.
You know, I really do.
You know, and I do look at it, and I know we spoke about it last week when I mentioned the depth of any team. So if somebody gets injured, you know you've got players to come up. With Manchester United at the moment, if they got 2 or 3 injuries over the next month, you know, they need to go to the academy just to bring up a couple of players who can actually play. Now, that's not good, because we don't have the team there.
No.
We've got no one. There is literally nobody sitting on the bloody bench.
Yeah.
Of quality.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, God knows what Ollie was thinking when he put the starting 11 up, and everyone's looking at him just going, oh, right, Donny van der Beek. Yeah, I thought he would have started. I thought he would have.
But again, we're talking about this depth. before we started this podcast, we were saying maybe the thing is that they're going to be taking the cups really seriously because they need to win trophies, maybe to prove a point to the ownership that
But they won't win a trophy.
No, I know.
Playing like this, I mean, yeah, okay. They play Luton Town, for God's sake. If they get beaten by Luton Town, well, I mean, there'll be hell to pay. But, you progress through the cups. Yep. What, you get to the semi-finals in the cup and then we get done. Yeah. A couple, I mean, God forbid. I mean, every team goes through their injuries. Every team will go through their problematic times, or even when a player's not playing that well, when he's down on his morale, it's not as good as it should be. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, they get beaten. But then you need that depth. Everyone works together and gets that depth. Man United is not the Man United. And a lot of people have always said, the good old days of Man United. Look, the good old days are the good old days. Yeah. When we look at here and now, Man United, they were lucky to get into the top 4 last season.
Yes.
They had a great unbeaten run. To start this new premiership season off with a loss to Crystal Palace is disgusting. They're at Brighton next week. And they've got some hard games coming up after that. Because, I think it's game number 4 in. They got Tottenham. Far out. That's not good.
No, but all the supporters want to see next week and the next couple of weeks, given the insipid performance. All they want to see the team do is actually run. You want to see a little bit of speed, a little bit of energy. And if you get beaten, but you show a lot more energy, I think you guys will be a lot more happy. It was because the performance was so insipid that you guys are so angry. And I would be too. And if we our game as well on the weekend, I would be feeling exactly the same. And we should have lost that game. We should have got battered. But we were fortunate enough that we've got a forward line that can kick goals. But I would be exactly the same as you. Tell it how it is. Pathetic,
Yeah. I mean, look, I must admit, especially with Martial, Rashford, Greenwood and co, they just couldn't finish. They couldn't finish. They were not on song. They couldn't finish Jack.
No.
But there was nothing. It was actually interesting because when Donny van Beek came on, and there was a couple of passes that he was trying out and trying a few different things, and you could see there was a little bit of pizzazz there, a little bit of finesse, and a little bit of I like this guy. The rest of the team, you know what? I'm just I tell you, this is my rant. You should have heard me on Sunday morning when I woke up. And, and I'm just, Vic goes to me, she goes, so how was it? It was a lot more colourful. Very, very colourful indeed. The words that came out of this mouth, it's not for recording.
No.
Because it was infuriating. Yeah. It was just horrible. Horrible.
And the whole issue, right, is when I went, because I want to compare our teams because I think it's really important to see where we are at the moment with our journeys and what needs to be done. So for things to improve for Arsenal and Man United, so I'm going to go the Arsenal perspective and then I'll tie it in with the Man United and you can give your thoughts. Yeah. So with Arsenal, what we're trying to do at the moment is we're trying to fix the spine of the team. So the spine of the team at the moment is Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, Willian, front 3, right? And you go down the middle, I don't think Jack is good enough in our team, but Ceballos is a quality mid. So you add one more, then you strengthen that spine. Then our back line now is fantastic because Gabriel's come in there and he's a really solid player. So you're seeing finally the spine is getting stronger and we have a good goalkeeper with Leno. When I compare it to Man United's team, I don't see a spine. I don't see it because the forward line's not strong enough. Maguire is too slow. Pogba, if he's going to play like that, where's your midfield strength? There's no spine in the team. So you could have all of these wonderful players like Greenwood and you could have Donny van der Beek play and try and be creative and score goals. But there's no structure. There's no spine in the team. And you're going to lose all your games if you don't address that as soon as possible. because that's what we've struggled for 16 years. We don't have a spine. We still don't have a CDM. That's the problem with Arsenal. We get that, we will actually fully have a spine. I don't see it with you guys at all. And it pains me to say, it's really poor for a big club.
Well, you know when we played in the Europa semi-finals against Sevilla, and we were done by a quick team. That's plain and simple. We're done by a quick team. When I look at the EPL so far, and it's the match day 2, it hasn't finished yet because you've got Man City and Wolves playing tomorrow morning. And the amazing part about it is the quickness of all these teams. Everything seems to be a lot quicker. Man United haven't quickened. They're slow. They're very, very slow. Poor Pogba. Years ago, they spent £80 million to bring him back to Man United. He hasn't done a lot.
No.
When Jose Mourinho was there, yeah, bit of a falling out, but it happens. But I don't think he's done what he's meant to have done.
No.
I'm not, there's no, I know, go back to this young kid that they interviewed yesterday in a park in England, which was hilarious, whose team is Man United. And they said, who's your favourite player? He goes, none of them. They're all rubbish. That says something. When you've got a 10-year-old who says that, well, guess what? Man United, you've got a supporter who thinks the team is rubbish.
Really
figure that one.
Really sad. And I see similarities between Ozil and Pogba. But I think Ozil has done a better job because at least at the first couple of years of his career with Sanchez when he was there, they were an unformidable force. You could not mess with that. They were able to win some FA Cups. They played a really great, exciting brand. But now Ozil's out of the team. And he's got that Pogba-esque style of things where they really haven't done much for like 3 or 4 years, and they're on incredible wages. Their transfers were huge. It's really bad, and it's really sad because, I want to see Pogba do well because you see him in the World Cup teams with France. He's just unstoppable. But sometimes these sort of players, they just don't gel with the club. They just don't gel with the system. And unfortunately for us, Ozil now doesn't gel with our system. And I see the same thing with Pogba. He just doesn't gel with the way Man United plays. And it's really sad because I think sometimes in football, we get so technical with the structures and everything, and we need to because that's the way everything's done statistically. But you need your creative players. You need that X factor, and those players do have it.
Now, and I think the other thing as well, though, and this is a key point. You've suffered a big loss like that, 3-1 to Crystal Palace match day 1. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now needs to pick the morale up of the team now to head to Brighton. That's the big question. Has he got everything as a manager to lift the team up, take them to Brighton and play a different style of football? Yeah. That is my question. Now, and this will show the depth of his managerial skills as well. Because I know some of the former players are now starting to question his depth of managerial skills. Now, and one of the biggest things, and I think we see it, and I think Jose Mourinho, I mean, you look at what Tottenham did overnight. Massive. Up against Southampton. Southampton scored the first goal. Then you got Song, who's kicked 4. Harry Kane finishes with their 5th. They win 5-1.
But you know what he did? You know what he did, though? Just sorry to interrupt, but you know what he did? Yeah. At the first 35 to 40 minutes, they scrapped like you wouldn't believe. And so they played like a team who was a lower team and broke on the counter-attack, but they scrapped the game. That's what Man United needs to do. They need to come to Brighton and they just need to make it a dog scrap. They have to win ugly. Because when you win ugly, that's when you bring that thing,
Spot on. And it's called guts, my friend. Have some guts. Get out there, and guess what? If you get yellow carded because you push somebody, so be it. Give them a slap in the face and a kiss on the other cheek and say, thank you very much. I'll see you on the pitch next week. That's what they need to do. A bit of guts. But as I tell you what, I look at it, that's what they need. Solskjaer's, he has to lift the team. He just have to lift them. I can tell you what, tomorrow morning, they play Luton. As I said, they need to win this, but they need to win it comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
If they win this one or 2-0, that's disgraceful.
Yeah.
That is disgraceful in my book. If they win this one 1-2, yeah. They need to win this one at least 5-0, 5-6-0. Yeah. If they're really serious about being a top football club, they need to win it around about 5 or 6-0. Yeah. Because I can tell you what, the game tomorrow morning, I'm interested to see what Man City do.
Yeah, me too.
Because on that one, Man City, they're used to, I think they're on an average, they'll score around about 3 goals a game. Mm-hmm. Thereabouts, you know. But I expect them to come out tomorrow. I think it will be a close tussle with Wolves. I've got no doubt, but I reckon there'll be lots of goals again. There's been lots of goals for nearly all of the games this round. It's been really surprising, but it's fun to watch. You sit there and just go, oh, that's amazing. Goal after goal after goal, and it becomes a tussle. There's no boring games.
No. I was just watching that game with you guys. You know, the difference with Crystal Palace and Man United really, for me, was Townsend. Oh, he absolutely battered your left-hand side. That's a player that you need in your team. And I don't normally rate him, but he absolutely butchered Man United. You need a player with that sort of guts, you know, in the team. And I don't see anybody. They're all too pretty. Or they decide to, like Maguire, sorry to bring him up, they decide to take their vengeance out on somebody at the pub, where it should be on the field. Have a buff up on the field. If you get sent off, so be it. At least you're showing some sort of character. You know, it's too passive. And I'm not used to seeing any United teams, even last year or the year before, I'm not used to seeing them so passive and so free. It's really, 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 really bad. So they need to show some character. Pass mark for me with that game tomorrow with Luton Town is 3-0. That's your 50% pass mark. That you need to score 3 goals.
Yeah. Look, and I agree. I agree. That's a very low pass, by the way.
Yes.
For me, I just think just a pass mark would be 4-0.
Okay, sure.
To actually get a good pass on it would be 5-0. Yeah. To get excellent, which they won't get, would be 6. And I'm just being honest. You need to bounce back. If they come back and just win it 1 or 2-0, well, you know, it says a lot. And I think they need to have a bigger look into the club. Yeah. As I said, the next 2 games, you know, because yes, it is Brighton, and then the game after that, they're at home to Tottenham, and Bale's going to be there. And I tell you what, with Song being on Song, with Son being on Song, Harry Kane, Bale, I tell you what, Man U will get absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, I know.
They'll get slaughtered. Yeah, watch his space. I hope they can do something.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we've got 2 hard games coming up. We've got Leicester coming up in the Carabao Cup. And then
Liverpool, isn't it? Yeah,
Liverpool. So I'm really interested to see how we go at Anfield. I thought we played really well against them in the Community Shield and the game that we played against them last year. That'll be the real test. So for me, if I can see with Leicester, if we won 1-0 against Leicester at King Power, that would be an awesome, awesome result. 2-1, I'd be very happy. And to be honest with you, if we go to Liverpool and we draw at Anfield, if we have a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw, I would be extremely happy with that result, because it shows for once that we're not a team to be battered or bantered. We haven't done well at Anfield at all. We averaged like 3-0 or 4-0 over the last 7 years since we've, you know, going over there and travelling. So a draw for me over at Liverpool or a very close loss would be an excellent result for Arsenal. And we shouldn't even be saying this because we're a big club, but that's where we're at the moment. And it's much more important to be realistic, you know, with things. But yes.
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, look, Dean Henderson, he's going to be in goal for Man United tomorrow morning up against Luton. So look, it'll be interesting. Yeah, look, they really need to shore up the back line. That's it. Just go for the back line. If they can shore it up, they need a couple of quick playmakers in there. I think Daniel James, I can't see him at Man United for another season, 2 seasons. He will get moved on and he'll play extraordinarily well somewhere else. Man United's not the team for him.
No.
He started off great, but then, he hasn't really gelled. I know with Solskjaer, he hasn't gelled at all. So it's going to be a tough one. He didn't play well against Crystal Palace. So, you start to look, Wan-Bissaka, I love Wan-Bissaka. Defensively, he is very good.
Yeah.
Down the wing, and he does a great job. Shaw, yeah, you know my thing on Shaw.
I know.
He's bloody hopeless. Lindelof, I don't know what he's doing there. And, Maguire is a great centre-back.
Yeah.
Maguire's a great centre-back. But I tell you what, when you put utter crap around someone that's good, it makes him look bad.
Yes.
That's what it does. And I tell you what, even after there was one play there against Crystal Palace, De Gea ran out to get the ball out the box. And I tell you, it was so close. It was so close. Lucky he reached the ball. And I think we ran about 40 yards out, and then he went to kick the ball. He just got there before the Crystal Palace player came in.
Yeah.
Just before. Very lucky. But that's the way it goes. That's my rant for today.
And this is the key message with all football clubs. You might not need the best of the best players, but there needs to be leadership on the field. Unfortunately, with Manchester United, you've got some great players, but there's no leaders on the field. And we haven't had that at Arsenal for 15 to 16 years. We finally got it with the Aubameyang signing, leadership, teaching youngsters how to play. David Luiz might be a bit of a banter backliner, but one thing he does have, leadership. Willian, leadership. And they can really teach the youngsters how to play. And that's what you need. And
well, if you look at the top 2, you look at Liverpool, especially with Mo Salah and Mane, right? There's leadership right there. Now, before he left Man City, David Silva, wow, you know what? Yeah, I mean, he was the player's player of the century, really. Silva was phenomenal, and he was a man that was so well respected. That is a true leader. But I tell you what, they've got a lot of leaders in their team. Mm-hmm. And the way Man City's been put together and over the years. But then again, I must admit, when I look at the Pep Guardiola, when I look at Jurgen Klopp, mm-hmm. there's 2 managers that are just sensational. And they put Manchester City have actually played a very exciting brand of football over the last few years. And it's exciting to watch. Liverpool's doing the same. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, between those 2 and everybody else, there's a massive gap. But the one thing I've started to see, when I saw that first game, Leeds and Liverpool, Leeds played a very exciting game of football. Yeah. And that was exciting. And you're starting to see that more and more come out with every game that goes forward now. And especially, you see Leeds, and when I watched Leeds and Fulham, that was actually an exciting game to watch. They're up 4-0, then it's 4-3. And you put that together, and you go, I'm happy to watch that football. But when your own team gets up there and they play like a bunch of school kids, and look, by the way, no offense to any school kids out there, but when you're the age of 19, 20 and you're playing for national football teams and you're playing for one of the biggest football teams in the world, and you're playing like a bunch of 9-year-olds. Yeah. So please forgive me, all those 9-year-old school kids out there. But you know what? Man United just need to get it together. And it's the manager's job to do that, to bring it up. And leadership, you got that right, Matthew. There is no leadership. There's none.
No, and that's how I feel this rival segment is going to be very important, because the 2 teams that we support, they need to improve on their leadership. And I think it's really a perfect time, to end our lovely session here. I love having Pete here because he's wonderful. He gives a real insight on what Man United's doing. Please subscribe to his At the Net. Perfect way to summarize every round of the EPL, and I love it. I learned so much from it. And this segment, The Rivals, will continue for the rest of the year. You've watching A Breath of Fresh Footy. I'm Matthew. Thank you for coming on board. And we, The Rivals, will see you very, very, very soon. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.